Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? No, what the hell's going on here? So weird. Thanks, LC. I don't know what was going on there. That's so strange. Alrighty. Now it's working? Okay. Ah, well. It's a wonder any of this technology actually works, you know? All right. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Okay. Good, good, good. So, bit of a strange day here. Overnight inventory is what? Pretty much 100% short. We did tag the close on an inventory correction. And now we're down to a short wait until we break 91. You want to get into a long wait until we break the previous day high and establish ourselves. Otherwise, right now, I think we're just going to go sideways for a while. So something to think about. In the meantime, hey Chris, sorry I got your message. I will get back to you. Sorry about that. I've just been kind of on the mend here. Let's take a look and see. The overnight point of control is just 74.11 and a half. And it's been choppy. A little while ago, I tried a little short here. I was looking for a look above and fail of 8. I thought, there'd be some selling, but I scratched the trade. I canceled out of it when I saw it reclaim. And then when it reclaimed VWAP, I was telling you guys, this little short worked if you were quick enough to get it. And I said, if it reclaims VWAP, be careful because it's going to rotate back up. Now, the reason it's rotating back up is because inventory is short, right? Which is a bit of a pain, but hey, we are at all-time highs, my friends. We are at all-time highs. So let's see what happens. Yeah, yeah, and anticipating balance or that back and forth, you know. It is Monday. It's the beginning of the week, right? Let's see what kind of customers come into the market. That's the main thing, right? Waiting, watching for your opportunity. Like right now, excuse me, there were sellers here at 12 and change. We looked above it for 3 minutes, came back down. I mean, it's a very finicky chart this morning. It's not clear, right? And we know that there are sellers here, right? So we've already corrected inventory short term down to the 7403. Came popped back up over 8. It might be the kind of day where we just trade back and forth like this for a bit, okay? So just be aware of that. Don't overcommit to trades. What you really want to do is wait for a look above and fail of this edge or a look below and fail here. Now that it's respecting it. That's what I'd be looking for right now. Let's see if we can hold VWAP. There are bids here. Now, I don't know if I would buy those bids and put my stop here. That's kind of not an A plus setup, but you're welcome to try it. We've got 3 minutes before the open. I'm a big believer in letting the market open up and tell me what it's going to do. It's not exciting. You got to sit and watch and wait. And a lot of people hate doing that, right? But what the heck? It's Monday. Let's pretend, we're lazy office workers and you don't come in, guns blazing on a Monday, right? Let's see, any kind of meaningful inventory correction will take us up to these stops and try and at least tag that high of Friday. If we get accepted over the overnight high, be careful shorting. If we get accepted over Friday's high, you know what that means. It means that we're headed to all-time highs. Now we're breaking VWAP. So you can go short, get stopped out, go long, get stopped out. Heck, just wait for the edge, you know. Just wait for the edge, right? I remember, when I was working for the federal government in Canada, I took that job because it was right next to the exchange, so I could meet people and weasel my way onto a trade desk. And that's exactly what happened. But I remember Monday morning, everybody just came into work, grabbed a coffee, and then they would talk. They really wouldn't do much, until Tuesday. Now, being lazy is not, I mean, it's not an accurate term. What we're doing is we're being smart, right? We're trying to be smart to see where the sellers are and where they stop selling. And people will go, isn't that, yeah, and that's exactly where the buyers are, right? So the sellers will stop selling when they see large bids, when they see large buy orders, just like they did here. See? They saw buyers here, so they raised price above VWAP. Now there's a seller right here. So I think it's going to be a choppy open. Give it some time. The Globex session was a lesson. It was a total lesson in patience. It was not, it was not a great session. These trades, the look below and fail, up, the look above and fail, down, those are the trades we want. Unfortunately, those trades don't happen every 5 minutes. That's why we got to wait for them, right? That's the problem. You're ready to trade, you're ready to make money, but the trade has to be there. The business reason for taking the trade has to be there, right? So here we go. Let's see where we find the bid off the open, and we're going to open in a couple of seconds here. There's the bid. So we got 10 bid. I'm long 11 and 3/4, selling 13. Not the greatest trade in the world, but just wanted to see if we got that quick up movement, and we did. Now let's see. There we go. Looking for that stop. So, sell them like you stole them if you're long, my friends. That is inventory correcting up, right? Hey, Flex. Yeah, discipline it's not my strong suit. It's forced discipline for me. But, if you're not disciplined, you're not going to make any money, unfortunately. Now let's see if we hold the 15s. And if we hold those 15s, right? You hold those 15s, and if you're long, sell a little at 18. We're going to have selling just underneath 21. So be aware of that, right? Make sure you have your sell orders out. If you're long 16, sell a little at 18. Why not, right? Take the money. You're going to have competition, right? There are going to be other sellers competing with you, right? Sell into strength. Bought a couple at 16, sold them into 18s. There's that 20 seller. They were there before, they'll sell there again, right? If we get over 20, we're going to take a run at that overnight high. And if there is no selling at that overnight high, we'll crack it. And your target will be 22 and 3/4 and then 25 and a half. Okay? Perfect, Howard. Perfect, perfect trade. Nicely done. So remember, Howard, the conversation we had, you're actually putting into practice now and it's working. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful thing? Really nice. Now let's see. Look at that point of control. Ooh, right up there, right? Everyone's trying to cover before we take out that overnight high. There we go. Right, so remember, if you are long still, take and put your sell orders out. Right? Try and put them before these stops so you don't have to compete with everybody. All right? Discipline is the key to this business. Discipline and repetition. All the boring stuff. Nice work, Raj. Nice work. Beautiful. It's okay, Howard. It'll come. First, you get your consistency, right? Then you can start using that trade copier, right? You're almost there. Every week you're getting better and better and better. Just relax into it, right? It's a beautiful thing. Now we've got some covering over the overnight high. And we're looking for that 74.25 and a quarter half. On the upside, see they're selling before that stop. They're front running that stop. There we go. Now when it backfills, this is called backfilling. Markets go up to create demand, and then they go back and fill in that demand with supply. That's how you distribute size. That's why you're getting this red candle here. It's a distribution candle, right? And if we take out the 28s, then we'll go into 4 times profit, right? So this method of what I'm doing is just basically what an accountant would do, right? You know, this is how much we paid for our goods. This is double the profit, 4 times profit. Very simple. Very simple. How do I find acceptance? Acceptance to me is how long does it take you to handle your business? So me, I need 30 to 60 seconds. 30 seconds is if I'm fast, 60 seconds if I'm slow. Now, the market profile definition of acceptance is 2 half-hour bars or an hour. But I never hold trades for an hour. I hold trades for 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes tops. So I only need 30 to 60 seconds to get my business done, get in and out, get paid, or know that I'm wrong, right? So acceptance for me depends on the time frame of your trade, the quality of your execution, and your skill level. So if you're not used to trading fast, you're going to need more than 30 seconds, right? You're going to need a couple of minutes until you develop your speed and your skill at trading, right? So for me, I only need 30 seconds. You give me a 30-second count, I can buy and sell in those 30 seconds. I'm in and I'm gone. I'm like a ghost, right? But for a newer trader, maybe a minute or two. Know what I mean? The official definition is is an hour, is to spend an hour over a level. That would make sense if you were position trading or swing trading, right? So that's something you got to look out for, right? Also, you got to remember those market profile books were written 30, 40 years ago, right? They were written in the 80s. So the market was very different, right? That it did not trade nearly as quickly as it does now. So that's why they said an hour, right? Now let's see what's up. Now we're looking for buyers, right? Remember we had sellers at this 20 level. Let's see if we can hold that. If we don't, we're going to come back to the 15s. Okay? So we got some bids at 20. Remember now, ladies and gentlemen, we are in distribution, right? So we are taking this and we're distributing it here. They stop selling here because the short sellers who are trapped are bid, 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 bid. So they come down, they see those bids, and then they raise price up. This is just simple market mechanics. Almost like it, Howard. That's why I said it could go either way. Now inventory, let's see if we can stay above Friday's close. If we can stay above that overnight high. It's not a coincidence that they're both in the same place. Now distribution sometimes is frustrating because the candles get small, right? See, the wholesalers who are along here, this is the cost basis. They're just gently selling it like this. They don't want to get too aggressive because they don't want to scare that 74, 19, 20 buyer away, right? No reason to scare that buyer away. So now we sit and watch and wait. And they're just going back and forth and selling their inventory. We'll break this level here if they aggressively start to sell and come back down. Right now, I don't really see a short unless we accept under 18. Maybe 18 down to 12 or 15. Not the greatest trade in the world, right? And it's choppy, right? It's choppy, it's choppy. Now, what I'm curious is how many people are short under 15 and are adding to it here, right? How many people are short here? This is this is where they initiate short, right? So they initiate short here, and then they add to it here. Because if enough people do, when they realize that they're trapped, they're going to push it up to 28. And you'll get those big green candles just like you did here, right? Wait for it. See how it's creeping higher? Now, a lot of people will take that creepy price action for weakness, right? And that's a huge mistake in a market that has limited supplies. Just because the price action is creepy, it means that we're coaxing people to try and buy it, right? We're trying to suck people into buying it. So it's kind of slow and they're not really coming fast because let's face it, who wants to buy an all-time high or buy a market 5 points before an all-time high? Not really anybody wants to put on size, right? So most of this buying is forced, right? But if enough people are short and short under 15 and they added at 22, when they go to cover, right? The last 2 months has been a hell of a short squeeze. It's just like the short squeeze we had. I'm not sure if it was last summer or 2 summers ago. I remember once there was a summer we had a short squeeze. Nobody saw it coming. It crept up on people. Gaps up did not ever fill, right? Yeah, and they'll start buying themselves in if we get over the all-time high. Now it's not. Let me make this perfectly clear. In futures, you don't borrow. Not like a stock borrow where you borrow stock from somebody and they recall the loan, right? That doesn't happen in futures, but still the buy-in process happens because people have to manage risk. And those are natural places where buying will occur is if you take out that previous day high, which is an all-time high, you know? As much of a pain as it is, and we're right, there's one last stop, right? Think of this as the last gas station before you go into the desert. So if you're short and it starts doing this is pretty much your last chance to buy it at a decent price if you're short, right? If you can try and visualize these things here, I told you this was going to happen. The people who shorted between 8 and 15, they added between 20 and 24. Now they're like, uh-oh, right? Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. There's the tag. They're going to sell into that previous day high because price action's a little slow, right? And lately we don't get these huge just rips. We do sometimes, but it just creeps higher and creeps higher. And now the people who are using Friday's high, the people who are using Friday's high as a stop, they're all going to start buying in. See, they're starting to buy themselves in, right? And this is a perfect example of, you know, the late great Tony Montana said it best. Don't get high on your own supply. Hey, Elliot, how's it going? How's Vietnam, brother? Man, it's good to see you. Now I've got a level at 34 and 3/4. Where is it here? I'm just curious to see if it works. It's from some balance levels that I did up about 2 weeks ago. Let's see. I will visit you one day, brother. There's a couple of places I do want to visit. Vietnam, Argentina. Gonna need somebody to run the room. I need a holiday. I'm doing all my traveling in my old age. I'm just curious now. This level's never been trusted because we're at all-time highs, and it's 74, 34, and 3/4. I'm just curious if it's at all reactive. It might not be at all, right? Yeah, we're gonna get LC back on voice, but LC's an important guy now. He's one of the people who keeps us safe from all those hackers. So there's a lot of times he can't be online. They're doing this, you know. Okie dokie. I have a little bit of selling at 34 half, 34 and a quarter. Yeah. Just when you make all your money, in computer safety security, just don't be like that guy who disappeared. What was his name? That guy who had the virus software and then he just disappeared and started going crazy. Is it McAfee? Yeah, McAfee. Don't go all McAfee on us, right? Johnny Mac, not McEnroe. Hey, look, it actually transacted at 34 and three quarters. Interesting. I mean, I wouldn't be shorting it here, but let's see what happens. Can we climb up over that? Oh, one tick, two ticks. So, do you notice how slow the price action's been, right? Easy, Howard. I don't know about that. Let's not go there, brother. You want to erase that? Okay. If Steve sees that, he's going to freak out. Okay. So now what do we do? Okay. Howard, please erase that. Thank you, sir. I don't want to give Steve a heart attack. Okay. What do we do now? Right? What's the trade? We just made a new all-time high, right? How do you trade this? Right? I'm not a fan of trading all-time highs. So what I do is I need to wait for the market to maybe come back under 74.28 and come back up over it. Maybe a look below and fail of 28. Here, I don't know. I don't know what the heck what's going to happen, right? Tea in a crumpet. Yeah. So here is just sit and watch. Just chill out, right? You got to wait for your setup, right? I mean, if you're a gun to your head short, some people just have to trade. So if you're short, your stop is 38, right? Simple. And if it gets back up over 35 and a quarter, 36, you're in trouble, right? So that's really the only thing you can do. We really do need a good liquidation. This market really, it's in dire need of a good liquidation. Unfortunately, when we hit all-time highs, that doesn't happen. The best we can do is go sideways and establish a range where we can trade the range back and forth, right? Frustrating, right? Yeah, the time and sales of the tape really only works as a speedometer. In the old days, in stock trading, you read the tape, right? Even now in stock trading, I'll look at the tape and I'll go, okay, you know, they tell you a lot of things. The time and sales in a stock will tell you, are they price improving? Is there an offshore seller or is it an onshore seller? Are they, how are they trading it? Where's it coming from? The spread starts getting bigger. All of these things, there's so many subtle little things in stock trading that you can use the tape for. Now, you don't have to, right? But those were there. That was very important back in the 90s and 2000 because I can look at a stock and I can see, are they selling from offshore? Are they selling from onshore? You know, is one market maker working in order or is it coming from all angles? All of those sort of things are representative in the tape. In ES trading, none of that exists, right? You have fixed spreads in ES, right? So we have fixed spreads. There's no backfilling. There's no buying and selling from offshore accounts. Market makers don't charge a give up. You guys don't know what a give up is, right? They don't backfill with a give up or not. They don't, there's no such thing as manual versus, electronic backfilling. All of those things, you guys, sometimes it gets, sometimes it gets wide, Elliot, because when the order book's really thick, sometimes the spread can get wide. If you look at, like a product like the NQ or something with a thin order book, like one of those thin markets, the spreads will be bigger, especially in times of any kind of volatility, right? And all that'll really do is just tell you to be careful, right? Yes, is a thick market. I mean, it's a lot thinner than it used to be, Elliot, but it's a lot more thick than price improvement, right? What is price improvement? Price improvement is when you put in an order and they give you a better price, right? It happens when your orders are executed at better prices than the quoted NBBO, which is the national best bid or offer. Okay? So, like for example, at Chuck, right? Charles Schwab. What do they say? In the first quarter of 2026, clients received 756 million in price improvement in their exchange-listed equity orders, right? So they're very proud of that, right? Here we go, liquidation. There we go. So if you were seeing that short, you're looking for bids down here just under 30, maybe 28. Your bids will be at the previous day high if you're short. Now, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? I'm looking for the bid, right? When a market liquidates at an all-time high, I'm looking to see where it stops selling. Now, this candle that's opening now, can this thing get down and stay underneath 30? Here we go. Come on. Right, so if you were short at 34, 33, I'd put some bids in here at 29, 28 and a half because there's going to be buying here. The shorts are going to come and bid this area. That's okay, LC. 4 points is a beautiful thing. See, now if you had a 29 and a half bid and it did not get filled, take the offer, right? Why not? Or you could elect to wait, right? Me, I don't screw around for a tick. If I'm 29 and a half bid and I don't get filled, I'll just take the offer, right? Especially at an all-time high. Now, in a normal market, we should come down and tap that 28. If we can't get down and print means execute. If we can't print the 28s, that means they're front running 28, which is just where the Friday high is, right? And that's how we execute. And if you're a short seller, if you're going to short all-time highs, you might as well do the hit and run trades like LC just took. He shorted 35, covered 31. 4 points on one contract is $200. 4 points on three contracts is a $600 trade. You know, And all you got to do is just one of those a day, and you got a 10, 12 grand month, right? Yeah, 4 points in this environment, especially on a short, is a beautiful trade. Because what LC is doing is he's shorting the backfill, right? We distributed as much as we could here, and now we had to backfill down, right? This is a distribution. It's a liquidation within a distribution. You know what you think of it as? It's a little fire sale. It's just a little sale. Nobody wanted to pay over 34, so they put it on sale. So you backfill. You're still distributing your product. Remember, the product is priced here. Now, Symphony trades every time I answer your questions. You never tell me whether you understand the answer or not. So from now on, I'm going to make a deal with you. When you ask a question and I give you the answer, let me know if you understand or not. Can you do me that favor? No? Do you guys understand the difference of a backfill in a distribution? We're always distributing. A backfill is just a little bit of a sale. Right? It's a sale to bring people in, to tempt them to buy. Crickets, I know. The guy just a question, 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 question. He never actually gives me any feedback. Home sales in just under a minute. Okay, here we go. What's going on in the room? You guys awake? Now, if we get some action in this home sales, let's see if we can get underneath the Friday high. If this market cannot get underneath the Friday high, be careful on the short side, okay? Here we go. Choppy. Now, last time there were sellers here. They moved on underneath 34. Let's see. When does a backfill stop being a backfill? When it stops going down and the offer lifts, right? Like this was a backfill, right? This was a backfill here, you see? And then the offer lifted, right? So this was a backfill. Now the backfill stops. They're trying to get people to pay. This is why we do this. Do you notice this? This is the backfill. This is when they find buyers and raise price. Then they backfill to entice more buyers. That's why it's continuously up and down. And when they're doing this, this is a distribution. A backfill is a part of a distribution, right? It's just words that these guys have made up over the years. That's all it really is, right? So we're always trying to distribute, right? The backfill is just like saying, you're in Walmart, George, and they go, hey, attention Walmart shoppers, right? For the next half hour, right, WD-40 is on sale, right? Or oranges are on sale, or Coca-Cola is 2 for 1, right? Buy a 24 pack of Coca-Cola and get a 6 pack for free. Get it? It's to entice buying. It's when you have too much inventory and everybody starts selling and you can't get off your inventory at the price you want. Everybody else is trying to undercut your price as a seller. So what do? You backfill to put it on sale. Right? It just sounds much more complex than it actually is. Right? If you can take this and look at it, this is basically a sales chart, right? A backfill. Okay. Okay, good stuff, Sympathy. Thank you. Right? So when does it become a liquidation? For me, it would become a liquidation if we broke 74.28 and came down to 74.21 in that area, right? So let me explain this whole backfill business. Say LC is my market maker, right? How this all came about, say my clients had 5 million shares of stock to sell, right? And I tell LC, look, LC, this stock, I want you to go sell, you know, you can sell up to 200,000 shares today, right? So all day, he doesn't actually have the stock. Get me? I've given him an order, and he says, "Okay, JJ, I'm working it." Right? That's called working an order. This is where this term comes into play, right? So throughout the day, I'll call him and I'll call him up, an hour into the day or whatever. If the client's really antsy, then I'm calling him like every half hour, right? And I go, "How do you stand?" And he goes, "I'm out 50,000. I'm out 100,000 every time I call him, right?" I told him to work out 200,000 shares, which means sell 200,000 shares. Now, at the end of the day, this is where the term comes from. Say the stock's $5, right? And he goes, JJ, he'll call me up and he goes, I'm short 150,000 shares at, say, $4.80, right? So he sold 150,000 shares at 480, right? The stock was trading between 4 and 5, so he got me good prices, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, cool, LC. I'll sell you 150,000 shares at 476. So now LC has made, working that trade for me, right? He has made 4 cents on 150,000 shares. So I've paid him $6,000 to work that order for me for the day. That is called a backfill. And often of times you'll see those big blocks print in stocks after the close. In futures trading, it's a little bit different, right? Because everything is really, really automated. So the backfill is just a fancy way of saying putting it on sale a little bit to see if we can draw clients in. Right? So it'll go back and forth, and it'll drop, and it's going back and forth, back and forth. And the backfill is just to get rid of or distribute supply. Right? That's where the term comes from. Dalton in Chicago, the guys call it backing and filling. In New York and Canada, we just call it a backfill. Right? So that's how market makers used to make money off of me. So if I have them working, that's a small order, 150,000 shares, right? So throughout the day, if a market maker is working 20 orders for me, and he makes, $6,000 minimum on each order, that's good money, right? That's why in the old days, market makers, young guys and girls who were like 25 to 30 years old, they'd be making $4 or $5 million a month, not a year. off of working order flow, right? That's why when you go to New York, they take you out for fancy dinners and et cetera, right? So one market maker will probably make 100 grand off you during the day off your clients. It's not bad, right? 100 grand a day, 20 trading days in a month. And I had 200 clients, so I was always had something that was popping, so I could always keep my market makers fed. And that's why I used to say I used to feed order flow to market makers, right? It's okay, you know. You're not going to make $1 million the first day. Just keep at it, man. It's just like when you go into the gym and you want to look like Arnold. It's going to take time. So right now we're finding bids just underneath that 32, 31 area. There's some selling at 34. This is pure distribution. Notice the last this current half hour bar that we're in, right? Now market profile, that's why you see B, A and B. B period is from, you know, 10 to 10:30, right? So now what happens is everyone who's short under Friday's high is trapped. So they're selling those trapped short traders product here using Friday's high as leverage, right? Unfortunately, trading all-time highs is not the easiest trade to take, right? You need a clear edge, and right now there isn't one. You can maybe try and scalp 31 to 34 and a half if it holds. The problem is at all-time highs, order flow is unpredictable. So when order flow is unpredictable, it's really a pain in the butt to trade. Really a pain in the butt to trade, right? It's not fun, right? Unfortunately, this market's been making all-time highs for weeks now. So a lot of traders are getting really frustrated, right? What I would do is I would use this time to learn, right? You may not make a lot of money right now, but here's the key. Like Symphony says, I only made $3 today, right? It's better than losing 300, right? It's better than losing $300. I would rather make $5 than lose 500, right? So in times like this, you know that things are unpredictable, right? $3 is more than you had. Yeah, exactly. There's LC. I was wondering how long you typed that. If you don't want the $3, I'll take it. Johnny on the spot, right? Don't worry. There will be opportunity. What's been frustrating for a lot of people in this market is the opportunity is not coming as fast as they would like it. There's like one trade and then you miss it and you got to wait 3 hours for the next trade. Embrace that frustration. Don't let it take your money, right? Just because you're frustrated doesn't mean that you have to go broke chasing every little trade. What you should be doing is sitting and watching and waiting for this thing to go sideways. Yeah. Like the old guys who trained us, right? Longevity is the key. You want to be long-term greedy. say you have a bad month, you don't make a lot of money. That's why you want to have alternate sources of income, right? So you don't take desperate trades. Revenge trading, FOMO trading, boredom trading, that's all desperation, right? Yeah, their bid's under 74.32 right now, but look how small the candles are. And there's a seller at 34 and a half, so there's not a lot of opportunity, right? So it is frustrating. You do want to make money. This is not a market that you want to quit your day job in. Okay? Do not quit your day job in this market. Okay? You want to have that extra income coming in. Hell, go and get another job. I'm always looking to work on companies and consult. On Saturday, one of the guys in my building is a private equity guy. He's got a company he wants to take public. I sat down with him. I'm going to work with him to take that public. I'll take on work. Like Rick Ross says, don't leave money on the table, right? Don't let money get off the table. If somebody wants to pay you, take it. And that way you'll be less anxious when you're trading because a lot of people are trading scared, they're trading desperate. And when you trade desperate, you cloud your vision. Now let's see if that 36 seller is still there. It's almost like the market. The market's like a dog. Dogs can sense when you're scared of them, right? The market's like a dog. It will tell you, like when you're desperate, it will bite. All right. Don't trade desperate, my friends. If you don't make it like today, I've done what? I think I made $100 today so far. I haven't. I, every time I've been away from the screen, there's been a nice look below and failed. Then it's chop, right? But it's Monday, right? It's not a big deal, right? Just chill out, relax, and don't let it stress you out. There's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves. There's a lot of pressure. Your wife will be sitting there going, "You've been in front of that screen for 6 hours. You haven't made any money. What are you doing?" You're learning, right? Now, if we take out the 38s, folks, be careful if you're short, okay? 2 ticks away from taking out those 38s. If we take out that A high, that's good, S-Phil. Yeah. There's still a seller there. Now, if that seller sees buyers, right? If I'm a 38 seller, if I'm a 37 seller, and I see people lining up, think of it as a glass door, right? See, we're 1 tick. If I see people lining up, what am I going to do? I'm going to raise price, right? See, there we go. And it'll happen slowly. Slowly, slowly, it creeps. And everybody thinks because it's slow that it's weak, right? So if somebody comes up to you and goes, "Hey, I'll pay you $50 for this," and somebody behind him goes, "I'll give you 60," and someone behind him is going, "Hey, I'll pay you 80," what are you going to do? You're going to sell it at 40? Why? Right? Now let's see if we can clear the 38s and stay above 38. I'm just using the levels on my chart, right? So what's happening now is forced buying. Now the FOMO buyers come in when they see that forced buying, they get all excited, right? They see the price going up, they're like, "Ooh." right? Let's buy it. It's going to go 7,500 today, right? So they're all jumping in, right? So when a wholesaler sees buyers, right, you got to understand they're getting the order flow. It's coming into the market. They get to see it and they trade against it. That's how the business works. So it doesn't matter what kind of order it is, right? So we got a seller at 40. Let's go check on these levels. I've got levels up to 75.11 on the longer time frame chart, right? Once again, we're at all-time highs, so we have to let the customers tell us where the high is, right? How do you trade this? I mean, if I was long in cost basis from Globex, I'd still be selling them, right? Most probably I'd be out by now, for sure. But there's no overhanging supply to slow this down. The only thing that's going to slow down the movement upwards is if buyers just completely stop. There you go, Howard. Now, Howard, you took that trade because we took out the 36s, right? Now you've had two good trades, right? Slow down now. Got it? Because right now you don't have a business reason to take a trade. So now you've had two good trades at all-time highs. Now you should chill. Got it? Keep that money. You made the money. Now the secret is to keep the money. Yeah, exactly. Right? And don't overtrade. Well, that's the good thing about this business. There's always something new to learn. Even I myself learn things every day. If you're open to learning and you're open to, if you're good at admitting, if you can admit you're wrong quickly and learn from it, that's what makes good traders. They can reverse course, they can admit they're wrong, they can manage risk, right? They're not frozen to a certain trade. That's how people blow up accounts in firms because their conviction overcomes their intelligence. Hey, Deuce, I'm going to start doing it again. I lost my voice. I don't know if you noticed that my voice sounds weird, right? I'm just getting my voice back after about a month. I had a really bad infection and it attacked my throat. I don't know what it was. I suspect it was some form of COVID. So my voice, at first I sounded like Marlon Brando in Godfather 1. I was like, it was brutal, right? So I'm just starting to sound normal again. I'm not quite there yet, right? But I'll start doing them again, yeah. Yeah. I had a lot of stuff planned for April. I had webinars planned on, subtle little things, I called it the devil's in the details. I had a webinar planned on, more advanced trading concepts, how to hold trades longer, how to build positions. All of that stuff had to be put on hold because frankly, they thought my girlfriend sent me into the hospital to make me sure that I didn't have a stroke. She was worried that I had a stroke because my voice was so screwed up, right? So I'm just starting to sound, I'm maybe 60% back to normal, 70%. Almost there. It's getting better every week. I want to thank you guys for being patient while I recovered. Man, this getting old is for the birds, I tell you. You know, when I was 27, I could work 20 hours a day without even taking a breath. Crazy. Yeah, see, this is like, how do you trade this? Look how small the distribution candles are. They're tiny. All right. It's okay to relax. You're going to do much better if you can relax. It'll really, really help. There you go. Where it stops, nobody knows. So I've got at 4 times cost basis, I'd be looking at 74.54, just over here, right? So far, it's pretty much trend up. And the problem is the follow through is so slow, right? Follow through in these markets is really slow. Let's go and see what the cool kids are doing in the stock market here, right? If you don't mind, let's go see. Apple, all-time highs, right? Amazon, tag that 277. We're underneath it now. Let's see where it finds bids. You know, you'll see this cost basis stuff works. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, cost basis won't work in stocks. Bullshit. Look, I had 277.79. Look at the high on Amazon. We looked above it and failed. Came back in, right? Google, I got to clean up that chart, right? Cost basis works in any kind of product because it's a market. So don't let people or anybody tell you that the stuff doesn't work or is not transferable, right? I mean, look at Microsoft. When it held 398, you would have gone long up to 423. Not a bad trade, right? Look below and fails, look above and fails. They work, right? Palantir's a bit choppy right now. Works in gold, it works in silver. Don't let anyone tell you that this stuff doesn't work from market to market, right? If they do, it just means they don't have any experience trading these markets, or they haven't used it, right? Or they're completely stuck in a you know an indicator and whatever type of trading. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you understand where cost basis is, anybody who's trading something is like, hey, should I be buying it at 4 times cost basis or should I wait for a deal? It's just a little bit of common sense, right? Think about these things. Daily. So my cost basis on stocks is based off daily time frames. Now, if I was going to day trade stocks, Deuce, I'd go into a 5 minute or a 1 minute time frame and draw the balance levels just as I do in where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Let me send you the link. If you click on there, it'll take you to a document, and you'll find that yeah, they're based off Globex Deuce because I'm in the UK. So I'm up at 4 o'clock. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, UK time, which is around midnight New York time. So I do my levels when I wake up. You could do your levels now. If you just wake up now, all you're looking for, and there's a ton of videos, and where is it? It doesn't have to be at a specific time. It's when you start looking at the market. That's when you, let me try and find you. Oh, here we go. So there's two links for you. Sellers at 42. If you're short, put some bids down in the 34s. How would your levels? Depends on what the market's doing, Pollux. Like if I came in right now, I'd probably use, well, let's see. If I came in and looked at it right now, I'd probably use this as a balance, right? Pretty simple. It's really not that complicated. What you want to do, Pollux, is you want to just try, yeah, you're finding that sideways price action, right? And the reason why people have trouble with this is you haven't done it enough. You need to draw out balance zones. You need to draw out a couple of hundred of them. And once you start doing that 5 steps, you start watching, right? And see where if your zones are working, right? It'll start every time you look at a chart, you're going to look for balance and distribution or discount. Now we're liquidating back. I'll be looking for the 28s. Can we break this level and come back down? There's a nice sale. Sorry, I was looking at stocks. We should have been looking to short the 40s, stop 42, and then covering here. Not at an edge, but we could see that there was a constant seller at 42. That's okay. Now we know. Now let's see if we can go back and forth in this purple zone, right? Any other questions? So, folks, I have to remind you, Steve's having a trading contest. It's going to start next month. And you can win $5,000. So check out the room, tradingsyndicate.org. How does that order flow work? It's a bit of a general question there. Pets. The order flow works because the business is inventory, cost basis, and order flow. You put those three together, and you got a nice pizza. It's okay, Deuce. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. Right? Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great, great trading day. Be smart out there. Don't take crazy trades. Wait for your edge. I'm really curious to see if we can get underneath 28. So far, they're bidding this thing at 29. Those of you who were short 40, 39, 38, nicely done. Sorry I didn't call it out. I was in the land of equities. Now, quickly, before I jump, is my voice more like, can you, do I sound better? Can you actually understand me better? Let me know. Is it sounding better? Almost normal? Okay, cool. Good, good. Ooh, that was a long month. I thought I thought it was pretty bad. There we go. Now we're looking for bids at VWAP. Nice liquidation. Finally. Man, that took some time. So you're looking for the 74.20. Thanks, folks. Have a great, great day. Damn, I almost said have a great weekend. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Appreciate you guys. Bye.